live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Right Side Pride. We are 1 minute early. It is 6 o'clock, coming on 6 o'clock Central Time. It is the dog day of summer. Not quite the dog days yet, but there's been very few of them. So we're going to hop right into this. I am Hector, of course, your host. This is
I thought it was Hector Barrera.
the brains and
Not
beauty
Hector,
of
of
the
course.
operation. This is the brains and beauty of the operation over here. Angela bloviating Tapia. We're going to hop into a video here. We did a little test run a bit ago and had a little bit of issues with things on my end because I'm in control of the knobs over here, so that's why we're having issues.
The knob's in control of the knobs.
But we will. I'm going to hop into this, get your opinion on it. You've only seen half of it, uh, so it's about 45 seconds long. He did go into a little bit longer of I think it was probably a 15 to 20-minute diatribe on this, and it was I felt nauseous listening to it. But anyway, without further ado, Lady Lindsey Graham will be
Lady
giving her opinion here.
To our friends in Israel, finish the job. Do what you have to do to bring about the regime change that will allow your children to sleep through the night. To the American people, wake up. Understand what we're fighting. The Ayatollah is not normal. These are not normal people. Stand with Israel. Here's my goal, is to have people in charge of Iran who don't want a nuclear weapon to destroy Israel, who will not be the largest state sponsor of terrorism, but live in peace with their neighbors and have a good relationship with the United States. That's what I want. And if you don't want that, there's something wrong with you.
Wow.
There was a lot more than that. Breaking it down a little bit here, his first comment of let Israel essentially finish the job. So that tells me I don't want peace. I'm okay with people, he talked about, allowing their kids to sleep at night, et cetera, et cetera. I think a peaceful evening with no bombs going over my head allows for, me to sleep at night. Thoughts?
I think his message came out harsh. I agree with him. I'd love to see peace in the Middle East, and it's not going to happen as long as Israel and the countries that surround it are trying to destroy it. And as ugly as it sounds, I'm take them out. I'm good with that. But
So you don't want a diplomatic approach to it. You want a
no,
just all out
absolutely
war.
I do. No,
That's not what he's
no.
calling for here. He's calling for just take the gloves off, let them go. Like,
No,
why are we talking?
I was agreeing with what he was saying, not. I was agreeing with the end result. I want peace in the Middle East. I hate going back over there. I still have sand in my shorts from when I was over there.
You haven't changed them?
No, it's gross. I'm a filthy person. No, I agree. We need to. I think when in '79 when Ayatollah Khomeini took over, it was a disaster, and it's just gotten worse over the last 40 some odd years. And they sponsor terrorism. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm sure they look at us as the great Satan and say we sponsor terrorism. So obviously a diplomatic solution would be fantastic. It's not going to work though. I don't see in our lifetime that happening.
So here, when he calls for, and the way he said it, but regime change, what he called regime change.
Yeah, whatever, however he said it was odd.
Calling for regime change. How well has that worked for us in the past? For the United States to say, it's not our place to choose Iran's government or Iraq's or Afghanistan's or
Right.
Israel's or any country across the globe. It's a, we can't even keep our stuff peaceful for the most part here, you know,
It's nothing
and
but peaceful protest. If we do it
and
peacefully protesting,
but it's not our place to tell other countries this is you
right
can't have this person in power.
now, you're right. But that's been going on since there have been countries. Back before Jesus, it's been going on. Uh, the Romans, in fact, around Jesus' time, installed what's his name? Not Pontius Pilate. Well, I mean, he was a puppet of them, but I can't remember the name of the guy they brought in to run um, the Middle East for the Roman Empire. It happened before. The when the It's just it happens. It's always been a thing, unfortunately.
But here's my point. How has that worked for the countries, for the world? Like,
We're
it
still
hasn't worked
here.
well. Well, we are, but everybody is still at each other's throat.
I think that's
If
unfortunately part of mankind.
if in my opinion, if you know if there should be a regime change or regime change
Regime,
in
that's what he said.
in Iran or any country, it's up to their people to make that change. If
Mhm.
they're tired of it, they'll revolt, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But it's not our place to sit here and tell Iran you need a new government.
Yeah, you're
You're
right.
I get it, like death to America, we're, the devil, all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Obviously, they don't like us. Totally get it. Hi, Angel.
Hector says hi. Hector says hi.
Um, it, all
He
of that
listens.
stuff, I heard.
Oh,
All of that stuff, is something, yes, we should keep an eye on. Yes, we should monitor their doings and everything, but just to tell them, like, I mean, how would we react if they told us you can't have a constitutional republic? You have to have a king. Like, how well did that work? What did we do?
we had
Not
protests
we,
and kicked out the king
right?
just last week.
Not we. I mean, you were there, but I wasn't born yet. But the
No, but we're not. All countries do it. I mean, you saw what when Iran got bombed and they said, "Okay, we're closing the Straits of Hormuz." China
hmm
said, "No, no, you're not. No, no, you're not." And when we left um, Iran in '79, right before the Shah got kicked out, I mean, before Khomeini took over, who stepped in after us? The Soviet Union. There's always a void to be filled, and some country is going to do it. Same that happened in Cuba when Batista got overthrown. Who stepped in? Soviet Union. When the Koreas split, who stepped in? Soviet Union, China. So it's going to happen, unfortunately.
stepping in whenever after the fact, and in my opinion, stepping in after the fact as opposed to telling them you need to change are two different. If they fall and you're stepping in, you probably should. I mean, it's going to happen. I get it. Like,
Right.
somebody's going to come in and fill that void.
Well, you look
Us
at
telling
Angola.
you,
You look at Angola. Years ago, years ago, there was a big fight between the government and the rebels. And we backed the government. Soviet Union, the Eastern Bloc countries backed the rebels, and it was just political interference on both sides. Who ended up winning? Well, the Eastern Bloc, because we left. But Angola kind of softened itself a little bit. So I don't know if we're on diplomatic. I think we're on diplomatic terms with them, but this is back in the 70s, way back when. It's just
So,
political gaming that is. It's like that game, not Clue, Risk.
mhm.
You know, you're playing politics all over the world.
So I just his, him talking about wanting peace, et cetera. But, and I get it, that's the end goal. But is unleashing Israel on Iran the answer to how you get peace? Or is it possibly like, hey, maybe we can actually come to the table and figure something out?
That would be ideal.
Because
And well, okay, President Trump gave him 60 days. What happened? They said no. Trump said okay. And then day 61, they got bombs dropped on them or whatever. But what happened? The Democrats all cried, boo hoo. What about diplomatic solutions? Blah, blah, blah. We gave them 60 days to come to the table, and they didn't. It's not, and I
but I
take issue. I take issue with people the Democrats, who keep saying, "Well, diplomat, diplomat, diplomat." Great, great, great. At what point is enough? Is nothing enough? Or have you had enough nothing at the table? When you sit down to eat and you're waiting on the waiter and they don't show up, well, what do? You go somewhere else. You
but
find somewhere else to eat.
I think we're talking about two different things here, because like what you're talking about there was,
I'm
his
talking about diplomacy.
right, but
Absolutely, we need it.
you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about, you're
Oh,
not
I don't know.
talking about you're not talking about regime change, though, which is what he was
No,
specifically
I'm just
stating.
talking.
We
No,
need
no, no, no.
we need
I'm,
to remove them, is
I'm
what
talking
he's
about
saying.
diplomacy.
Right.
And
And
when you had asked about, are you saying no diplomacy and just go straight to bombs? No, no. I'm all about diplomacy. I want diplomacy first and foremost. I don't want people to die, but um, at what point is diplomacy? Is there an end to diplomacy where you just say, okay, well, this is nothing but you know a waste of time, um, where they're sitting there where they never come to the table, or they come to the table and say, okay, well, let's talk about this. Well, we don't like that, so they just keep dragging it out, dragging it out, dragging it out, and with the end goal being nothing gets accomplished.
and I guess the motto that Netanyahu and Trump kind of kept talking about was the peace through strength, right?
I believe
So,
that.
and I have no problem with that. My biggest thing is, and I get why we did what we did with bombing them and everything. Like, they can't have a nuke. Like, every president has said that since, you know, regardless of party, every president has said that. But again, I guess my biggest, whether they like us or they hate us, my biggest argument is it's not our place to instill XYZ person
Right.
into power in another country.
Agreed.
You know, we can't even have a peaceful election here without one side being like, they cheated. No, they cheated. No, I mean, if you don't have a perfect government, keep the meddling out of others. And I get it, every country does, and every country does it in ours. It's what they all do. But I think his call specifically for a regime change is 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 nonsense coming from an elected official like that. You know, that did nothing to block that.
Damn.
You
I
have
need a cough button.
There is one. There's a mute button. If you hover over your name, you can, or hover over your photo,
Oh
and you can
yeah,
hit the mute. Um, but yeah, that's my biggest thing. I get it. Sometimes you have to,
I did it.
utilize your strengths to deter others from doing things, and that's what happened, right?
Walk softly and carry a big stick. My favorite president of all time said that. I didn't
Or
vote for him. I wasn't there.
or or carry big bombs. Um, 30 pounders. But that's my thing. It's just, calling for regime change is not going to, when you have a sitting senator calling for regime change, is not going to help the president's chance to have diplomacy between those two countries. And it's just something, and especially when he's from that person's party, you know, I mean, it would be different if it was a Democrat saying whatever, because then at least the president could say, well, that's the wacky ones on the left. Well, this is a wacky one on the right who's calling for regime change. Like, did we not learn anything in Iraq? Did we not learn? I mean, it's you don't just go and topple other people's governments and then leave the mess. And then you have the Chinas, the Russias, the North Koreas that fill the vacuum.
Yep, that's what happens.
Anyway, I think people wanted you to talk more, and I kind of bloviated on and on about that. So
We all
um,
bloviate a little bit each. I
I I'll give you, you can have the last like 3 minutes here to talk about everything you'd like to talk about.
okay. I feel like Garth from Wayne's World. Okay, I'll be talking about this now. Oh, wait. Okay.
um,
I don't really have much to talk about right now. My wife just got home, and I'm kind
okay,
of wanting to go say hi to her.
okay. So I'll wrap up then with before you have the final words. I will give you the
Okay.
final words today. But
Okay.
again, tomorrow, looking forward to, if you're available, we could maybe go live on here to get recording. If not, I'll just we'll coordinate that tomorrow. But I'll be at the Robert Francis O'Rourke Town Hall. Um, he'll be here in San Antonio. I'll be at that. Um, gonna try to maybe ask a question if possible. If I get a follow-up question, what's a woman is definitely coming second.
I
Um,
want you to ask him when he's coming to take our guns.
and then Saturday we're gonna have the fun um,
Oh yeah.
stuff, things. The Pride Festival is taking place on Saturday. I'm gonna try to get some exclusive footage there. Maybe be able to talk to a couple of people and ask them random questions about Pride and how they feel about the new cultural heritage district.
The
Right?
manhole cover?
No, the designation of the cultural
Oh,
heritage district
where all
in
the bars are.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
ask
sex
them how
shops.
they feel about that and try to get some footage from there. So hopefully it'll be a good entertaining weekend with a lot of footage and a lot of things for us to opine about. And I've had a lot of good words
You
today.
have.
Um,
Wow. Did you swallow a
and
dictionary? Did you
no,
swallow a Scrabble board?
I had about 4 cups of coffee this morning though.
Wow.
I I did dream last night though that I bought a Tesla, but the what is that, the felt stuff on top, like the seal and the ceiling, like the cloth stuff that's in
Yeah.
vehicles?
cloth
it was
ceiling,
all, yeah, whatever it is. It was always like dropping on my head. Um,
like an afro. It kept growing bigger.
my head was growing a Tesla. Um, but yeah, that was odd. But anyway, thank you for hopping on. I don't know why we even invited you today.
I don't either.
Like
I don't either.
monopolized the whole time today. But um, definitely this weekend though, some good footage, and check out both of. We did do a segment before this one that we'll put up, and we're not gonna. We tested something, but we're not gonna do that anymore. Um, you want to tell people how they need to be? You
I
fascist.
suggest, I'm not telling anybody, be good humans.
All right, we will see everyone next time. Your hosts today have been and still are Hector Barrera and Angela Tapia. This episode of Right Side Pride was self-produced by your hosts with guidance from our ever-patient producer, Roz. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time on Right Side Pride.